Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jessica and today is the day I am very excited to be making Ballerina Farms lemon raspberry cake. This has been on my to-do list for a while to try and make. I was sick all last week. I was supposed to make this cake and record it, but I was sick, and even recording this video, I had literally no voice. So I had to wait to get better to record the voiceover. But this cake I have seen on her website and her Instagram and on social media, and it looks beautiful, and I have been meaning to want to try it. Just like the title of this video though, I had some mishaps and I don't know what happened. So you guys will see it, and I will link her recipe in the description box. So maybe you guys and any amazing bakers out there can give me any tips and tricks of things that I could have done better. But I followed her recipe like to a T. So I don't know if it's just, I don't know, she's just better at it. I have no idea. This cake did not, it turned out great in the end. You'll see the picture, but I don't know what happened. So I did start out buttering and flouring my 3 9-inch pans and adding the butter to the mixer. And this cake has a lot of butter. It was 5 sticks for the cake, just the cake. That's not even the buttercream. And this is where I think in the recipe that I would change. Once you have the butter softened and whipped, you add the flour, the sugar, the salt, and the baking soda all together. And it was a lot of sugar, 5 cups of sugar. It does make a really big cake, but any recipe or any baking that I have ever done in my life, you've always creamed the butter and the sugar, or the fat and the sugar together, no matter what it was. And this recipe had it mixed with the dry ingredients. So I think that is what, if I go back and make it again, I would change that step, because that is what I feel like was like the start of the things that happened wrong in this cake. So then after the butter was mixing and I mixed all the dry ingredients, I had to separate 9 egg whites. So it does take a lot of butter, a lot of eggs, but it is worth it. So 9 egg whites. And if you have any delicious recipes or things to use up for 9 egg yolks, let me know in the comments below, because I still have them in my fridge because I don't know what to do with them. So let me know. And then you will juice lemons. You need a cup of lemon juice. So fresh lemons, she says to use only fresh, but I'm assuming you can use the bottle if you needed to. But yeah, juicing those lemons. This is where I think the second part went wrong. I was mixing all the liquids like she says in her recipe, the lemon juice, egg whites, butter, vanilla, and even the milk, but I didn't add the milk at this point, and you're mixing it together. And I had it mixing for a whole while and it was not incorporating. That's the vanilla. And I was like, I don't know what to do. So I tried to scrape down the sides and the whisk attachment. Just the butter would clump and it would just be kind of swishing around the egg whites and the lemon juice and everything. Nothing was just incorporating at this moment. So then I decided, after trying again and mixing it, I was like, okay, I think I have to do something else because this is not working. And so then the next step I did was to put a couple cups of the dry mix and put that in there so that it wasn't just so sloshy for me to dump it into the dry mix bowl, because it was just a big, I thought if I dumped it in, the liquid would pour out and the clump of butter would just splatter. So adding, I think I did like 2 cups of the dry mix into the butter mixture of the egg whites and lemon juice and vanilla, and stirred by hand so that it kind of got incorporated so it wasn't so sloshy. And then I ended up just adding that all together in the big dry mix bowl. So the butter did not mix very well. It was still lumpy, even in the dry mix. As you can see, it was kind of chunky. So I was like trying to make do with how her recipe said, but it was, and there's me adding the milk now because I was like, okay, I didn't want to add it into the mixer and it be even just more wet. So I mixed this a little bit by hand as much as I could, but even just looking at it, I was like, this butter is still clumpy. Like, what do I do? So then I just got my good old handy dandy hand mixer. And I started to mix it that way. And I did this for a little while and it did incorporate. I will say there was a little bit of pieces of butter that I felt like probably could have mixed better if it was creamed with the sugar, which is what I think, but it ended up working out okay at this point. These are the freeze-dried raspberries. These are my homegrown, in my yard, raspberries that I freeze-dried, and they are supposed to be the star of the show. I will say my kids did not like having the chunk of freeze-dried raspberry in their cake slices as they go to bite it. So I think that would be the third thing I would change, would be to either crush them up more or blend them or chop them and make them like finer, or even just a powder to dye the cake pink, I guess, but and have that raspberry flavor. But it wasn't bad to me, but they just did not like the chunk of freeze-dried raspberry in their slice. This is where you can see that cake over there, that first layer. You can see how it's darker in the corner, and it looks almost burnt. And even the third cake that I will flip over, it will look burnt, but it is not. I tasted it. It is not burnt, but this middle one was like perfect, and it did not come out perfectly. It made me kind of sad. I think I'll do a layer of parchment inside. I really buttered and floured that, so I'm surprised these each had a piece at the bottom that stuck, but nothing buttercream will not cover up, or lemon buttercream we make. and actually in between the slices, that berry that we made, that syrup, gets chilled, and that's what gets added to a third of the lemon buttercream to make like a berry lemon buttercream. So you can see, and I am pulling it a piece off to taste and see if it's burnt, and it does not taste, but it almost tastes caramely. So I don't know if it was how much butter and flour I had in the pans, but it was just those two edges. But this cake baked twice as long as in her recipe said. Also, it was still completely raw when I stuck a toothpick in the middle of the cake. At the time she says, I think it was like 35 minutes for the cakes to cook, and they were all three raw completely. So I cooked them not quite double. It was probably another 10-15 minutes at least, until they came out clear on the toothpick. So yeah, I'm letting those cool and making the buttercream now, lemon buttercream. This towel trick I actually learned from Acre Homestead, I think is her name. I will link her down below. She's one of my favorite accounts to follow, but they put that on so you don't get poof of powdered sugar flying up in your face like I always do. I'm kind of not patient. So this is me taking out 2/3 of it, because you will have the white and the pink buttercream. And this is the 1/3 of it I keep in the mixer to add that berry liquid mixture, not the berries, just the liquid mixture to it, and it makes it a very pretty color frosting, and it tastes so good. Now, I am not a pro at decorating cakes. I have decorated cakes in the past. I went to classes, but I am just trying to get this cake put together so that we can taste it. We have been waiting all day. You can see pieces of the cake missing from kids trying it and the frosting. And I was just so excited to see it together. So, and I feel like there was so many mishaps in between each stage. There was things that happened that I did not expect, and so I kind of made this thought of this as my Frankenstein cake, just trying to get it to the finish so we can taste it. And it says to use the white buttercream on the rest, but I had leftover berry lemonade berry lemon buttercream, and I just added it to the top because I didn't want to waste it. And it was actually my favorite out of the buttercreams, was the berry tasting one. So I added that to the top, and you can see when I frost it, I kind of just put the frosting on so it will be easier to blend the sides. So I just start putting it on. It tastes delicious. You will see the final product. I would recommend making this. I would just make the improvements of the steps, like maybe creaming the butter and the sugar and then adding the rest of the ingredients, maybe the liquid and then the rest of the dry ingredients, and not using whole freeze-dried raspberries. And it took longer to bake, so I don't know if it was my oven or if it was her oven. Just every oven depends on the temperature, and maybe I need to get a thermometer in there. But those would be the steps I would have changed. And she made it look pretty and put fresh raspberries, but it is in the middle of winter in Idaho, and to buy fresh raspberries is like $10 a package. So I ended up using some the last bit of my freeze-dried raspberries, and I just ended up chopping and crushing them up and covering the outside and the top of the cake and slicing lemons to make it pretty for a photo. But it reminded me, the crushed up raspberries on the outside reminded me of those, I don't know if you guys remember as a kid, they still have them, those strawberry shortcake crumb ice cream bars. That's what it reminded me of. And but it tasted so good. My kids had friends over this day, and they all had a slice. My daughter and her friend did not finish. I think I cut the slices way too big. I was trying to. I don't know. I am not a pro at slicing cake. So if you guys have tips and tricks, let me know in the comments below. any tips on cutting and any tips on how I can improve this cake next time, because I definitely want to try it again and try to make it not look like it burnt and to not have chunks of raspberries in there and having it incorporate better, just all those mishaps. So yeah, let me know, and I will again leave her website and her recipe down in the description box if you guys want to try it or see how hers came out. Hers looked, I thought, way prettier than mine, but it tasted good, and that's all that matters. And trying new things and new recipes is something that I love to do. I always have a bucket list each year of new recipes and things I want to try and bake, and it's just fun. It's just really fun to learn and try new skills and master other new recipes. These are the freeze-dried raspberries. I'm kind of just roughly getting them chopped so that they look pretty on the outside. And yeah, I hope you guys like this video and this recipe, and I hope you guys give it a try.